One of the Redemptorist saints who's not very well known is Blessed Peter Donders. He was born in Holland in 1809 and spent all the years of his priestly ministry in the Dutch colony of Suriname in South America. Peter's family was very poor and needed him to go to work at an early age to support the family. He was only 12 when he became a weaver. However, Donders had a deep desire to be a priest, and when he was 22, his parish priest helped him to be accepted at a minor seminary to complete his basic schooling. Peter Donders was not a great student, but at age 26, he began his seminary studies. He was well into his 30s when he was ordained in 1845, and he went immediately to the Dutch mission in Suriname, where he spent the rest of his life carrying out his pastoral work among lepers, slaves, and native peoples. In 1866, when Peter Donders was 57 years old, the Church of Suriname was entrusted to the care of the Redemptorists. This gave Donders the opportunity to fulfill a lifelong desire to belong to a religious order. He became a Redemptorist and spent the last 20 years of his life with the other Redemptorists in Suriname. Father Donders died on January 14, 1887. He was 77 years old. Pope John Paul II beatified Peter Donders on May 23, 1982. Blessed Peter Donders is counted among the saints because his profound communion with God manifested itself in an extraordinary living of certain virtues. Most significant is Donders' missionary zeal. But here, I'd like to focus a bit more on Donders' inner life. Peter Donders was a man of deep faith. There's no indication of faith crises or major questioning in Donders' life. Rather, he always trusted in the one he called the good God. Early on in his life, Blessed Peter learned to accept all that happened as what God wanted for him. Donders' frequent prayer, no matter what happened, was, "It has so pleased the good God." This deep-seated and constant faith and trust in God nurtured in Peter Donders a quiet, peaceful spirit. His simplicity, humility, and gentleness led to his peers giving him the affectionate Dutch nickname Pirke. Such humility and gentleness is only sustained by prayer, and there's plenty of evidence that Blessed Peter was a prayerful man. Even when he was in the seminary, his fellow students noted this. One said, "I think Pirke always lived in the presence of God." One of Peter's Redemptorist confreres in Suriname said of him, "Prayer was his food, the breath of his soul. He prayed constantly." But I think it's also important to note that Peter Donders was not gifted with mystical or ecstatic prayer. One of the Redemptorists who lived with him wrote shortly after Pirke's death that he was rather dry and hesitant of speech in God's presence, and God on his part gave him only sparingly of the delight that sometimes accompanies prayer. Our saint's prayer was mostly vocal, depending much on the rosary, spiritual reading, and the use of prayer books. It was his constant fidelity to the daily challenge to pray that made Blessed Peter prayerful. Finally, I'm happy to say that among Peter Donders' virtues, we find generosity, joy, liveliness, a sense of humor, and a capacity to accept teasing. These aspects of the spirituality of Blessed Peter seem to have become more pronounced in the later years of his life, when he was a Redemptorist. On the whole, there's a certain ordinariness about Blessed Peter Donders and his life. Fired by love of God and missionary zeal, he became a holy man, a saint. I think that's within reach of all of us. May God's face shine on you and draw you to holiness.